Entrepreneurially Thinking is a presentation of BioSTL and CET, Center for Emerging Technologies, with Rare Gem Productions, changing the way you view new ventures, including you on the pathway to success with your business in the St. Louis marketplace and beyond. Here's your hosts, Cheryl and Christy. Now let's get thinking entrepreneurially.
Welcome to the Entrepreneurially Thinking podcast. Our goal is to energize your entrepreneurial mindset and create pathways for business success in the St. Louis marketplace and beyond. I'm Christy Maxfield, Director of Entrepreneur Development Services at the Center for Emerging Technologies.
And hi, I'm Cheryl Watkins-Moore, Director of Bioscience and Entrepreneurial Inclusion for BioSTL. Hey, Christy.
Good afternoon. With each show we record, we're stepping out of our comfort zone. Come join us and think about your business in new ways. We want to take off the constraints of how you view the current and future endeavors in your world. You can join and stay in touch with the Entrepreneurially Thinking community on all of your favorite online streaming platforms on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, or by visiting our website, entrepreneuriallythinking.com, hashtag ETHINKSTL.
Well, I am so happy. I think we've got a great lineup for this show. Today, we're going to be speaking with Betsy Cohen, who is the Executive Director for Regional Immigration and Innovation Initiative, which is the St. Louis Mosaic Project. The goal of this initiative is that by 2020, our region will have the fastest growth rate of foreign-born individuals.
2020 is not that far away.
Absolutely. And I think they've made some wonderful strides because in the St. Louis market, we should be very proud that in 2015, our region was recognized as the fastest growing for foreign-born of the top 20 major metro
That's impressive.
Areas. So Betsy is making, great strides with this initiative and also supporting entrepreneurial endeavors for many foreign-born individuals. We're also joined today by Julia Lee, an amazing entrepreneur.
A very busy woman.
Yes, and young.
Yes.
A young woman.
A young, busy woman.
Who was born in Shanghai, but who was educated right here in our St. Louis market at Washington University. She's worked in various industries and organizations. I thought this was phenomenal at Nickelodeon.
I know.
Animation Studios and at the Walt Disney Television Group.
Just two small enterprises. Relatively unknown.
Right. But she decided through all of her travels and through all of her endeavors to head back to St. Louis and manage her family's business, which is JX Restaurants, which includes, I know many of you in the St. Louis market know of the famous LuLu Seafood restaurant. That's her family's business.
Friends who will only do LuLu's.
Yes. So Julia also is the founder and executive director of Create Space Generator. It's an artisan entrepreneurship incubator.
I love artisan.
Yes.
It's just one day I will be.
So it's that whole Create Space, which I'm really excited to talk to her about that new endeavor, but also her family endeavors and
all
also
the work she's doing, because like you said, she's a busy young woman.
Yes. And then talking to Betsy, too, about what she's doing to help individuals like Julia be successful here in our market. So stay right where you are. Don't go anywhere. This will certainly be a great discussion that you don't want to miss.
Now here's Make It Happen with Keith Sales Pro.
According to leadership advisor Lee Colan, here's 4 things every leader should know. Attitude. Life's rewards go to those who let their actions rise above their excuses. Execution. A good plan gets you into the race, but execution propels you into the winner's circle. Growth. High revenue growth forgives many sins. And 4, communication. Those who underestimate the intelligence of their employees generally overestimate their own. Today, remember, it can happen. It will happen. And together, we will make it happen.
Follow Keith Sales Pro on Facebook or Twitter at Keith Sales Pro, or visit his website at keithsalespro.com.
It can happen. It will happen. And together, we will make it happen.
Betsy Cohen, St. Louis Mosaic Project. Entrepreneurial thinking to me means creating a path where nothing has been before, envisioning something that we can take each other to and move forward.
Betsy, thank you so much for joining us. So glad you're here. We really want to find out a little bit more about the St. Louis Mosaic Project so that our listeners can get a full appreciation for what you're working on. Can you share some of that with us, please?
Yes. There was research in 2012 and 2013 that showed that as a region, we need to be growing, and one way is to grow our foreign-born population. And so the St. Louis Economic Development Partnership and the World Trade Center birthed the St. Louis Mosaic Project with a regional steering committee.
Wow. And so you've took over this brand new initiative. What were you doing before you joined St. Louis Mosaic?
I was a vice president at Nestle Purina.
Again, a small little enterprise.
Right here in our region.
Just hidden. What inspired you to make that leap from Nestle to working on one of the largest, I would say, most important issues facing our economy, our local economy?
Right.
What prompted you to make that transition?
My first career was involved in marketing and also with many international people, and I had a passion for our region.
Fantastic. You can't beat those. Passion and connections.
Right.
And connections, Betsy's got a few.
Right.
So can you tell us also just a little bit more about what it means to actually grow the number of foreign-born folks who are living, working, growing businesses in St. Louis? It would seem like that's a really big goal to take on,
right.
and there must be a number of different strategies that you're using to do that.
There are. I mean, for the region, we have somewhere in the neighborhood of 125,000 foreign-born people, roughly, out of 2.8 million in our bi-state region.
Wow.
Okay.
And so part of the thinking of our strategy is we need to engage and grow foreign-born people of all skill levels. And that includes international students, corporate hires and transfers, other professionals that are in the area that are looking to use their skills in our job market, but they may have come from another country, as well as those that have less skills. The entrepreneurial part is a very important component because many foreign-born people, when they come to the United States, are prohibited from getting back into the careers they may have had in their home country because they trained in something that the training would be either too long or they can't get into it here. So to provide for their families, they start businesses.
So they've got advanced degrees. Could be medicine, engineering, law, etc. But as you said, going that path right now would really take too long or be too expensive. So in your experience, what kind of businesses are our newest immigrants starting?
Well, there are two different kinds of businesses. One is the more high-tech for those that are foreign-born that have degrees or graduate degrees. And they're starting high-tech businesses and often connecting through the universities. They're connecting through our high-tech incubators, through areas like Cambridge Innovation Center, CET, all of these. Then the second group is more about neighborhood businesses. And that is creating smaller businesses that hire local people that support neighborhood vitality. And it could be from restaurants, it could be cab companies, it could be insurance, travel, trucking, many things that happen at the
really
local
broad
level that keep our neighborhoods walkable, keep them lively, and they keep families and people engaged in the neighborhood, which also supports the economy, the schools, and people buying the goods of other people.
Right. So with this Mosaic Project, what type of resources or support that I'm sure that you provide? Can you give us an overview?
So for the St. Louis Mosaic Project, we have had an immigrant entrepreneur advisory board that has met periodically to talk about the needs of the community. We get maybe one call a week and someone comes in who's looking to start a business. And again, it could be a faculty member. It could be someone that just moved here yesterday. I met with a couple from Cameroon that are starting a business here. And they come in and we together walk them through the layout of the ecosystem in St. Louis. And then we make those warm phone calls so they can immediately go where there may be loan money or business plan money or a co-working space. Sometimes we call and we'll get a month of free space for them or anything we can do to make them understand that we want to see them succeed as fast and successfully as possible and not bark up the wrong tree.
I think that is a phenomenal. It's almost like a buddy system when you walk into
we talk about wingman all the time.
It's the wingman that you have, somebody that's opening the doors, that's pointing out the resources, that's being a resource, a true resource for folks who might not have ever been in St. Louis or, this is their first time in our country, So I think that's a great opportunity that Mosaic Project offers for many of our individuals.
We also try to give them recognition. So we have told the stories of many of our successful immigrant entrepreneurs. We have encouraged their stories to be profiled in our publications in town. We have talked about how we highlight them, such as today. We have done award ceremonies to bring attention. We also have a program called St. Louis Mosaic Ambassadors, where we have 700 people. And one of the things that are Mosaic ambassadors that learn and are welcoming. And one of the jobs they have is to visit 3 international restaurants and meet the owners and be supportive. It's a tough job.
We looked at each other because food is an underlying theme of the show inadvertently because we enjoy it so much. And so I think we have the opportunity. We may be able to qualify as ambassadors.
Food brings people together.
Absolutely.
And I think if you go to an international restaurant and meet the family that owns it often, you get to know their story, and then, they know you. And I think, even in today's times, the more that we support businesses and learn about the people and share those common experiences,
spend local.
It builds a bond, it supports local businesses, and
you learn so much about
you travel the world
cultures.
just by being here. And I think that that's one of the things that we've seen with many of the cultures and the businesses, and that's why the St. Louis Mosaic Project encourages our ambassadors to support them. And also, Mosaic has done some financing for some of our immigrant entrepreneurs to go through entrepreneurship programs, such as what Julia has created.
That's great. And we are going to revisit that to get an idea of what those how you funded those entrepreneurs, what they've been doing. But as you mentioned, Julia's with us.
You are a superwoman in our eyes. We are so awestruck by just reading your background and looking at all the wonderful things you've done, and you're not even 30 yet. So
I'm tired.
I know. We're both tired.
For her.
So, Julia, why don't you walk our listeners through your career path and
your personal journey?
Yes, and how it brought you back to St. Louis, to your family's business, and then your newest venture with the Create Space Generator.
Sure. So my name is Julia Lee. I'm actually an immigrant. So I came here at 7 years old from Shanghai, China, right to St. Louis, which is actually pretty rare. I went to Carnegie Mellon first, and then I transferred to Washington University in St. Louis to be closer to my family, especially as our family businesses started to transform. So my first job out of college was I worked for Nickelodeon and then transferred. So in the entertainment world, it's called poaching each other. So
that's the best way to get talent.
Exactly.
You might earn a few people who are less than pleased with you, but the best talent gets poached.
Exactly.
So I went to work for the Walt Disney Company, and that was an amazing experience because what they really taught me was that dreams do come true, and to believe in everybody. To believe in anybody who has a potential. So after that, so my music, my passion has always been children and children's entertainment and music. So I went to work for Jam Master Jay's company in New York.
Oh, very cool.
So that's Run DMC for
yes.
For our youngest listeners who may not know.
For everybody in Christy and Cheryl's world, yes. Thank you for the background.
So that was an amazing experience because I got to work with DJs, musicians, up-and-coming talent, and my role was to place them for corporate clients such as Disney Cruise Lines, Royal Caribbean, Sandals, Atlantis, all that fun stuff. So looking at the talent of, pretty much otherwise, some were even kids that had no prior experience, training them to be DJs and then placing them out in the real world.
Very cool.
So you got to be exposed to a lot of the great talent that's coming up.
Please.
And like you said, it's almost like, were you able to go out, like you're placing these people on different venues? Were you also
constantly traveling?
Oh, wow.
Constantly living out of a suitcase.
So you're that platinum level traveler.
Yes, I suppose so.
Wow.
So really what brought me back was after all that experience overseas and et cetera, I realized how important my family was to me. And during that time, I did develop it's a benign brain tumor. It's not a big deal at all. So that kind of realign
but still a wake up call.
Yeah, definitely. And I realized that I'm really close. I really want to help my family, and I really want to be closer to my community in St. Louis. So that's what brought me back to St. Louis. And I really thought I was going to come back and have some Zen yoga time.
Which you had earned.
And that
Betsy's shaking her head. Nope.
So, that did not happen.
Right.
Well, kind of. I still do yoga, but it wasn't.
God bless you.
A Zen time. So I got back, and one of the first things I did, and everybody that knows me knows this about me. My main goal is to retire my mother.
Oh,
so anybody
that's a great
that
goal.
knows my mom.
Will she let you? Is the question, right? She's not so sure, folks. But she's working on it.
Right. Because your mother is the one that founded LuLu Seafood, right?
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
So we've been in the food and beverage industry for 21 years. LuLu's has been around for just about 16 years. And my mom is there every single day.
Wow.
I know I've met your mother.
She's amazing.
She is amazing.
She's such a hard worker,
Yes.
friendly to everyone, even those who she can't see it. She can't see it when others are, talking down to her, etc. So she's just friendly to everyone, which I appreciate. And sometimes I'm really like, I have a lot of heart for my mom.
Right.
So
right.
You want to defend her?
Yeah.
I get that.
Absolutely. That's your mom.
Exactly.
Absolutely. But she built this business, and your family, and like you said, have all come together to create other businesses too as well.
Exactly. So essentially, when I came back, one of the main reasons is, so my parents started to have a partnership with Dierbergs. So we are now in Dierbergs in Brentwood and Dierbergs in Creve Coeur. We have satellite locations in there, physical satellite locations. They're fast casual locations. We started distributing to all, I believe, 19 locations.
So really scaling in a whole new way, even after 16 years.
Yes, exactly.
And I think this is a lesson that many of our entrepreneurs, especially those in the foods industry, we have a lot of Main Street businesses and listeners that are in this particular industry, and telling your story about how, because we always talk about the scalability. So it's really interesting that you guys chose to partner with Dierbergs, and it's increasing the growth opportunities.
Oh, absolutely. After that happened, then we really saw, I basically told my family, they actually didn't want to even do it. They didn't want to do it. And I get it.
So were you the driver of this growth opportunity?
So partially it was my dad and I, because my mother actually was just like, I don't want to take off more than I can chew. This is scary for
She's
us.
already giving 110% where she is. I get that.
Exactly. So part of it was to have her see that it would actually simplify our lives to take this
more revenue.
Exactly. So that happened, and then we kind of went on our track to open up our independent what we call fast casual or quick service restaurants. Olivet will open, probably in about 6 days.
Oh, wow.
It's a soft open, and then we'll have a grand open, and we'll invite everybody to have some free food and free beer.
Where in Olivet are you opening?
So we bought out Meihua. It was it's next to Party City.
Oh yeah, I know
exactly where that is.
Did a big renovation over there, so we're due to open there very shortly.
6 days. Well, by the time this airs,
it'll be open. Yeah,
go everybody, right?
And then China Inn in Rock Hill, we took over that as well. So Rock Hill will open up in about a month from now.
Wonderful. So now, are you leading these expansions, or is this is truly a family affair? You mentioned your dad. Who's the strategist behind all of this?
Strategist, I would say strategy is more me, but operations, logistics, it's really the whole family. But as for what works, what doesn't work, looking at our profit models, looking at the best quality food, creating partnerships rather than just spinning our wheels on our own. That's kind of where I come in. And I also see this as when we hit 6 locations in St. Louis, then we will move to our next region. Not physically move, but
you're
open
going to
up
expand.
10. Yeah. Yep. Exactly.
That's very exciting. And I know that you're also working on and have created the Create Space generator. And we want to just take a brief break, come back and talk about how you and Betsy have gotten connected, what that looks like, what you're doing in Create Space, and continue our conversation.
Holidays can be happy, but we may still be dealing with some stress. While this may be a jolly time, you may still be dealing with your rough times. So be mindful this season when stress is getting to be too much. Know that you have some support to manage stress and overcome the difficult things that may have happened or are happening to you. Take 5 through the holidays to find out how to respond to stress. You deserve to be alive and well. Find more ways to take 5. Go to aliveandwellstl.com.
Julia Lee. I live in University City, Missouri. Thinking entrepreneurially means to me thinking outside of the box, being innovative, looking for solutions that are off the beaten road.
So we're talking with Julia and with Betsy, and we've asked Julia to tell us a little bit about how she and Betsy got connected and the other ventures going on in her world. So, right. Julia, how did you find Betsy?
Well, Betsy and the Mosaic Project, I really think this is the organization that is finally giving a spotlight to immigrant entrepreneurs.
Yes, most definitely.
And before this organization, I would say we kind of just did our work and, you know, I would say immigrant entrepreneurs are extremely humble. They don't want the spotlight for one reason or another. It's just not part of our culture.
Right.
And it's the first time where I've seen immigrant entrepreneurs really be recognized and appreciated. And even though it may not seem like it's, you know, it's appreciated or effective on the surface because they're so shy, it makes a world of a difference.
And the impact that immigrant entrepreneurs offer in our communities is phenomenal. And you're right. It doesn't get recognized. And I think the Mosaic Project does a really wonderful job of elevating the impact that's occurring in our communities.
Absolutely. And you know what? It's actually straight in the numbers as well. So for instance, for the Asian-owned businesses that are, you know, gathered on Olive Boulevard, which is really our Chinatown in St. Louis, that street creates more tax revenue than Del Mar than really the rest of University City combined. And, you know,
that's a story to tell.
It is, honestly. And nobody seems to want to really talk about it because it's a point where, you know, why does Olive Boulevard look the way that it does while Del Mar looks the way that it does? Because those are, you know, tax dollars going into the street renovations and et cetera. So, you know, I think in the next few years there's going to be a lot of change within University City and within St. Louis to kind of tell the stories. It's already begun through Betsy, through the Mosaic Project, and other chambers, et cetera, that tell the story of immigrant entrepreneurs. But it's almost like a golden time for St. Louis to really come to terms with its past, its current, and where it's going to go in the future.
And it sounds like you're part of that driving force there, Julia, that you're going to be behind that, pushing that forward. I can hear that.
Well, you know, it's always been a passion for me to, one, kind of level the playing field a bit and really help people with vision achieve that vision. And that's kind of where Create Space Generator and, you know, Betsy and Mosaic Project kind of play into everything that is going further in the future. Right. So with Create Space Generator, our whole vision and mission is to give creative and food product and product. So physical product and food product.
Yes. So it's things you'll find on the shelf as well as things you'd be served in a restaurant.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. We want to give those entrepreneurs a chance to give the whole spectrum of business training that another like a tech startup would. So that
is it only for immigrant entrepreneurs?
That was my next question. We share a brain.
We do. It's a lovely brain. A little scary.
So it is not just for immigrant entrepreneurs.
No.
That's a phenomenal because we've heard, you know, St. Louis, the next biggest cluster that people are looking at is this Whole Foods cluster. And a lot of individuals, as we've talked about, their first venture, entrepreneurial venture, might be a food-focused business. We're
seeing that a lot in our Square One program, and I can't imagine that it won't continue.
So actually, I wanted to talk about Carrie real quick. She's one of the incubatees of our. So this is our first year, and we're at month 7, and she is a single mom. She is African American, and so her brand is vegan cupcakes, and she just got picked up by Whole Foods.
Really?
Ooh. Ooh.
And there's our next
That's a big move. Yes. That's a big move. And, you know, we always also talk about the fact that, you know, when you get picked up by a Whole Foods,
yes,
part of it is just being able to deliver. You know, we always sweat the can I make the sale, but then you actually have to be able to deliver. So having a place like Create Space means that you'll have some of that infrastructure, some of that mentoring, some of that support, so that when you get that golden opportunity, you really can make the most out of it. So that's very exciting. And Betsy, you said you had actually supported some of the folks who are building their ventures there. Can you tell us a little bit about them?
Yes, one of the funders and supporters of Mosaic has been Civic Progress, which is the CEOs, and as part of their financial support, it allowed us to give some partial scholarships to 3 entrepreneurs who were then investing their time and money into her training program.
That's really
great.
So when you say investing their time and money in the training program, were they participants in the program? Okay. And I wanted to make sure I wasn't confusing them with mentors.
No, they were participants.
And do you happen to know what kind of businesses they were building? I mean, obviously food related, but just
well, one of them was
what yummy stuff is curry
curry puffs.
Oh, I have had curry puffs.
Samtip has wonderful curry puffs, and we actually had her bring some to one of our Mosaic ambassador meetings, and we bought her curry puffs and served them.
So we could also think of her for our office meetings and our parties and all of those kinds of things.
That's our awareness opportunities that we host. So that would be great.
Yes.
What other kind of food entrepreneurs are you guys supporting?
Sure. Andreas and Claudia. So they are the founders of LifePack, which is, they also received an Arch grant. And they're doing Colombian coffee. And like they're starting to do like more like Colombian pastries as well. But they're doing phenomenal. And they're, you know, I would say like, everyone is amazing to work with, but especially immigrant entrepreneurs, they have a level of discipline and a level of drive that is all their background and experience. They kind of weave that into their food, and it's so authentic that it's, you know, people are excited by their stories.
Yeah,
sure.
So who's helping you over there? Are you doing all them? I know you have your hand is in so many pots.
How do you do that?
Right.
So we are a partnership with the City of University City. So
Wonderful.
What we do really is it's folks can only stay in our space for 1 year.
Okay.
So we are in the Del Mar Loop. We have a physical location. So that means people who are participating in our program get to make sales immediately.
So
they're seeing revenues.
Cash is king.
Yep.
Yes.
Revenues are blood.
Yep.
So who are you using as your mentors?
So the way that we work is it's 12 months. Every month is a different module. So we start out with, you know, basics like getting your LLC, being legal, retail sales tax ID, accounting, all of that fun stuff. Our partners are the VLAA, which is the Volunteer Lawyers and Accountants Association.
Great.
Sue Greenberg's amazing, but that means we are partnered with Polsinelli, Reuben Brown, all the organizations that they're partnered with.
Yes.
So, you know, the first step is to get everybody legal. And then, you know, we do the business licenses with the city and get our retail sales tax ID together. And then we partner with different organizations in the community. We just created a partnership with Tech Shop, so we'll be doing some classes over there.
Yes.
And we created a partnership with Balsa, which is another
one of our favorite friends.
Yes.
And then you know, so really what we have, how our classes work is that we bring in leaders from the community to teach them, and we never try to like reinvent the wheel.
That's the smartest strategy, and that's why I think why Christy and I work very, very well together and very closely together, because we're not trying to duplicate resources, and being able to pull those different resources from the community to help serve different areas of our community is absolutely brilliant.
And that also hits on another theme for us. We often talk about the need for people not to only think about their entrepreneurial aspirations, but some people will never be entrepreneurs, but they can be mentors. They can be subject matter experts. There's lots of ways in. This is one of those messages our listeners hear from us all the time, but because it can't be overstated. And I would imagine even for very experienced immigrant entrepreneurs, they're also probably not thinking of themselves as an expert. They're humble in doing their business. They're probably very humble in evaluating the many, many skills that they bring to the table. So this would be an opportunity then for them to also give back to the community with the thing they know the very best, which is doing it from scratch.
Right.
Absolutely. See, what we find is the reason why we have about 20 folks in our program at a time is they're not just learning from whoever we're bringing in, they're learning from each other.
Oh, yes. Peer learning.
And when you have all types of different backgrounds, socioeconomic skills, empathy levels just really develop. And that's the type of magic that you can't really reproduce, just on its own.
Right.
I totally agree.
Yes.
It's also why when people say, can't you do some of this remotely? I say, you know what? Technically, we can deliver content remotely, but we can't deliver the experience of being with your peers, of having that tribe, of connecting with those subject matter experts. And that empathy piece, we need it for our customers.
Right.
What better way to build it than to build it right with our peers?
With each other, right.
That's
exactly.
fantastic.
So tell me, Julia, how are you balancing, your life, your family business, and now this newest venture?
And then these opportunities, which we were so thrilled you said yes to, but wow, we put another thing on your plate.
So, it all goes back to, I suppose, about 3 years ago when I came back and I said I would do yoga.
Yoga, folks, yoga.
Well, but in reality, it's about, I've done a lot of thinking in the past 3 to 6 months when a lot of things started to kind of rain down on me, because the reality of what's happening in our country and what's happening with this election and all this jazz is that it's caused some haywire things to kind of pop out. Things that I haven't experienced since middle school, I would say, like kind of more blatant racism. And what I've realized is that while I can't control other people, what I can control is what's in my heart, what's in my realm, within my bubble, and who I want to be. So part of that is getting real organized, and two, like respecting my personal time and boundaries, and powerfully saying yes and powerfully saying no.
Awesome.
That's a great point, because a lot of times, especially we as women, don't know how to say no, or we're afraid to say no.
And being that for other women too, because like you said, women are very nurturing. We just want to help others. I guess it's the mother in us all.
Yes. Right.
So I guess like for me, how I've been able to really, because I did have a moment where I was just laying in the grass and I was like, what am I doing? What am I doing? I can't.
Calgon, take me away.
I've had that minus the grass laying. Yes. Like, what am I doing?
I remember exactly.
I can't see you laying in the grass, Cheryl, but metaphorically speaking.
Right.
I was in Art Hill staring at the sky like, what am I doing? Yeah. And I realized that, I can be for myself what I want to be for myself. And as long as I can express that powerfully to others around me, I know that I will create a barrier of respect and that it's not a big deal.
Right.
Wow, that's really very powerful, and I appreciate you sharing that with us. Part of our goal is to be real and to talk about the very real hurdles that all of us face, and knowing that our country has changed and that there are some behaviors we're seeing now that are going to really challenge us to be our best selves, but also to double down on those things we know we hold true and important. And one of those is building our community through the talent of our entrepreneurs who come to us from other countries. So
and inclusivity.
I mean, there's plenty of space for everybody. And in fact, based on the recent reports in our community, now more than ever, we need our immigrant community to help grow the region, because without them, we stagnate.
Right.
And, folks may not want to hear that. Folks may not think that's true, but the numbers, Julie reminded us, the proof's in the numbers, right? And the numbers tell us that's true.
Well, when we talk about innovation, we've always said that you can't have a homogeneous population when you're talking about creating innovation.
Can't get new ideas that way?
Exactly. You need everyone to contribute to our thriving, innovative community, because when we leave out people or we don't include folks, we're hurting ourselves. We're hurting innovation. We're hurting how we can grow as a country, as a region. One of the questions I have, and this is just very interesting, because you are managing a huge operation with your family's business. How are you managing your family? How does that work?
I love the fact that you brought up that question. It's been a ride, and so my grandpa is actually in the hospital right now. He's been there at this point for almost 4 weeks. He went from, ICU to TCU to rehab and then back in the ER.
Wow.
So, he's 81 years old. It was a minor neurosurgery, but that it just had lots of complications. Right. So, for my family, I've watched them work ridiculously hard. Like, not the normal caliber of 9 to 5. Right. It was more like 9 to 3 a.m.
Yeah.
Right.
And something happened in the past month after my grandpa went into emergency room that my mother dropped everything. Everything.
For the first time?
Oh my, I've never seen it. Ever.
Wow.
And, actually our 2 new restaurants are fast casuals, Olivet and Rock Hill, are supposed to be open yesterday. They're supposed to be open.
Right.
Both of them.
Right.
But other things took priority.
And you know what? They are not open and my mom does not care.
That's right.
And that was the moment where I realized that none of it matters. Family's first. And it's great that we're thriving, but family first. And it's also the reason why I came back. And, I was getting a little scared, actually, honestly, that like my mom would never retire and that it would be this like wheel forever. However, now I realize that my mom and I are similar. Like we just want to take care of everyone. But at the end of the day, like, our family is what is number one.
Absolutely. People above profits,
Exactly.
always, and family above profits, because that's the most important. That's why you're doing this. Hopefully you're leaving this legacy for future family members or growing your own, opportunity within your family. I mean, that's I would think the major reason why you do what you do.
Exactly. Like, again, back to why I even came back here. It's retire my mom and figure it out for what it means for the LuLu's empire or legacy or whatever we're creating.
I like
here.
empire.
It's been hasn't been a walk in the park because we do things very, very differently.
Well, I was going to say, especially if someone as young as yourself managing your parents and others in your family, I know that's got to be a very interesting dynamic.
It's a Jedi mind trick, so
Good to know. Good to know. Study yoga and Jedi mind tricks.
It's especially for my dad. Like, when I make decisions and do things, I always have to make sure he thinks that it's his decision. And
we have all sorts of those people in our lives, right? Some of them on our board, some of them in our management team.
I understand. I have a father like that.
Yeah. And as long as he's like, yes, what a great idea coming out from his mouth, then I am A-okay.
There you go.
Good for you.
There you go.
Well, Betsy, you must have met so many people like Julia who are inspiring, who take it to the next level, and who really contribute so much to our community. If more people want to get connected to the work you're doing with the St. Louis Mosaic Project, how do they raise their hand?
They go to our website at STLmosaicproject.org under Get Connected.
Fantastic.
And they can join in. And I think really every day they can bring appreciation when they meet and see foreign-born people in our community to smile, to patronize their businesses, to thank them.
Yes.
And I think today more than ever, as people face potential negative feedback or the fear of negative feedback from some people, it's really incumbent upon the rest of us to go out of our way to be more appreciative and be more welcoming and to understand that our whole community benefits when we have growth for all of us. And it's not just the employment that's important, but it's also the fabric of our society in St. Louis to be multicultural so that all of our ethnicities can rise together, not one at the exclusion of the other, but that we're open to all of our groups, and that those people who feel that more than ever today take that extra step.
Well, I want, it's very interesting that you say this, because all of us are still, I think, wrapping our brains around, the whole process, the election process in our country. And it's just, I would love for people to understand that this country was founded by immigrants. There were native people that were here already. But when we founded the United States of America, it was founded through people coming here from other countries. And I would love for people to still have that your forefathers were here and were greeted and were welcomed by native people here. Have the same respect, have the same openness and willingness to embrace people that are different, because that's what this America is about. It's a fabric of different and tapestry of different people, different ethnicities, different cultures, and we should embrace that. We shouldn't try to separate that.
Yeah. So if you're happen to be an immigrant or an immigrant entrepreneur or love those who are, Betsy wants you to give her a call.
Yes.
Because the stronger, the bigger that this movement is, the more likely we are to really take advantage of what Julia has characterized as this golden period where we can really grow and change and see the transformation of our communities thanks to those investments of everyone.
And risk takers.
And risk takers, no doubt. Absolutely. None of this comes easy, and none of it comes without risk. So the more we can support each other and create that network, that fabric of our community that really does allow for all of our strengths to add to the rich tapestry of who we are. That's when we're very fortunate to be living here in St. Louis. So we know where to find Betsy. Julia, where would we find, I'm sure I can Google LuLu's, Google LuLu's, but where else can we find you, and where can the entrepreneurs find Create Space?
Sure. With Create Space, you can find us on the Del Mar Loop. So we have a physical store at 6325 Del Mar Boulevard. It's right across from the Tivoli. You'll be able to see there's 20 different makers in there, part of the maker movement. Woohoo! If, folks are interested in applying for our next cohort, because every 6 months we do accept new folks. It's www.createspacestl.com. And as for LuLu's, LuLu Seafood, if you're hungry, Olive, Rock Hill, Deerbergs.
I can't wait to the Rock
Deerbergs.
Hill.
It can't get more convenient, folks. So thank you both for joining us.
Yes.
It's been truly an honor and a pleasure to spend time with you, to learn more about what you're doing, and in a very small way to be a part of it.
Yes.
And we look forward to hearing more about your good work and your exciting activities.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Changing the way you view new ventures, igniting your thinking about entrepreneurship. It's entrepreneurially thinking. Get connected and discover more. Visit our website for show notes, resources, information about our guests, upcoming events, and of course, all your favorite episodes. If you have any questions, be sure to leave them for us in the comment sections, and be sure to leave us a 5-star rating on iTunes. The best way to show love is to share. Let everybody know that you're thinking entrepreneurially. So visit our website, entrepreneuriallythinking.com. #ETHINKSTL. Entrepreneurially Thinking is another positive production of Rare Gem Productions. Thanks for listening.